Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Solomon and More podcast. Today, we got some information that we'd like to share with everyone. How are you today, Solomon?
Living the dream, dude. It's been a while since we've done one of these, so certainly excited to really get into the weeds and try to provide as much content as we possibly can out there for you guys.
So the XRP Ledger Foundation had 122, but we covered that already. Coinbase. I wanted to bring up Coinbase because Coinbase is actually profitable, but the question that I have for everyone is where do you see centralized exchanges versus decentralized exchanges? Do you think there's a future where um, there's both, or there's a future where like smart contracts, decentralized exchanges completely eliminate the need for centralized exchanges? I could see a situation of both, but at the same time, I don't think they're going to be as big. But if you look at this chart of Coinbase, it broke through support. Now it's testing a new area. So
I remember you tweeted out like a couple of months ago, and you're like, "What do you think's going on with Coinbase?" And I looked at that wick over to the left side, and I was like, "I think that it's capitulated." It was that big wick, like further, yeah, right there.
yeah,
And I'm
right
like,
here.
it looks like it capitulated to me, and I'm like, to the downside. And yeah, obviously we've seen more pain, so it'll be interesting because I mean, what is this to scale? So this is a 4-day chart.
Yeah,
Where do we
so
go back to that first bottom red wick that you see, the one that has a really long kind of the wick?
we passed it. So that's the white
Oh, no,
line.
no, no. I know that, but I wonder when that is. Like, what date was that?
Yeah,
Oh, back in May.
May.
So you essentially have, almost what, 7 months? Make no mistake about it. Like, that's probably going to be what this, the stock of Coinbase has to try to tackle and get back above at some point. It's going to be faced. So there might be some opportunities there, but yeah, I mean, you were going to go into kind of the profitable versus what the actual share price is, what it's valued at.
I mean, so they missed earnings. So the way you value stocks is right about how much they make, right? So they're estimated to bring in 617 million. They missed it by -2. So that's why you broke through support. Like the fibs right now are telling me it's gonna, the next area of support's 2237, but you could have something where you retest this and work your way down, or it may never come down to this fib. It just matters where it bottoms out and where this becomes profitable. So they partnered with BlackRock. They are, everywhere. They're a large exchange. They're make money. So it is a potential opportunity. It's just I think overall the markets are shaky right now. And I see that in the bond market, like we just saw with the gilt market. These are not normal circumstances, and the Fed tightening right now is just going against the grain of everything. And I don't think that's going to last too much longer. So I'm waiting for a capitulation market in all markets, and that's just what I'm waiting for. Hopefully, I have enough dry powder to buy everything. So Cheddar Flow tweeted about the put to call ratio. So if you don't know what this is, puts are bets that the market's going down by a certain time. Calls are the market's going up at a certain time. So you do this with each stock. What this is saying is there are more people that are betting that it's going down than betting that it's going up, which usually like the majority is wrong and everything like that. So we will have to see, but this could essentially do like a short squeeze. And a short squeeze is there's too many shorts, and then all of a sudden the price pumps out of nowhere and goes crazy high because everyone's shorted, like GameStop. So GameStop's an example of the short squeeze. The put to call ratio is kind of saying something similar. You see like how this pump happened out of nowhere, as saying we might have like a melt up like that all of a sudden out of nowhere. But this got carried away. But if you just look at where the short squeeze was, this was the short squeeze, and then it stayed elevated. But too much shorting, and then the price goes the other way, and then the shorts have to cover, so they have to buy it at higher prices, and that's what makes the price pump. So I don't know if you had anything you want to add to that, but
No, you're good. That's your area of expertise, dude. 100%.
so I noticed like Kevin O'Leary, all these people are kind of like slinging mud at Binance, and Binance wasn't adding like these ridiculous ads at Super Bowl. They didn't have a QR code going across my screen. They didn't spend, hundreds of millions of dollars. So everyone's pointing their finger at Binance, and they're using the whole China bad type of politics, right, for Binance. And it came out, Forbes covered this, which, you know, Forbes takes money from all these bankers and everything in the US. They came out with something that said the headlines: a global drug conspiracy used Binance to launder money, millions in crypto, DEA investigates fund. You go in here and you read that Binance was actually cooperating with them. So they make this like ridiculous headline for clicks. And Kevin O'Leary's blaming FTX demise on Binance. Everyone's going against Binance. But by the way, I would not have money on centralized exchanges right now.
Yeah.
But you know, I kind of empathize with what Binance is going through, because they really didn't do anything, and they're being their finger being you know, touched with that, pointed at. So
That's not the first time that we've seen ridiculous headlines. I know, like I did a video yesterday, and we brought up Filecoin earlier. CoinDesk put out 23 trends to look for in 2023, and the author was a guy from Dharma Capital, and he talks about kind of like this massive surge for Filecoin, which this isn't a shot on Filecoin at all. This is just saying, like, you have to really watch and try to look into who's like actually writing these articles. So it's 23 trends to look out for. Like number 8 was like Filecoin is going to do X, Y, and Z, like from a utility standpoint. But like I said, the guy worked for Dharma Capital, and then I clicked and I'm like, does Dharma Capital have any relations with Filecoin? And they have $100 million fund like that uses Filecoin. I'm like, but there was never any disclosure in the CoinDesk article that like Dharma Capital or the guy had any ties to Filecoin. You just see 23 trends to look for in 2023, and it's like, even like, and again, nothing negative about Filecoin, but like there should always be disclosures. You know what I mean? As far as like, what am I reading? Who am I reading it from? Do they have ties? Are they incentivized to say something like this? And the only way to really find that stuff most of the time is to do your own due diligence, but it's just crazy.
While we're on that topic, yeah, we're sponsored by the XX Network, and we have ties to Hbar through the Lighthouse Foundation, Lighthouse Report. So, just so everyone knows. Okay, so the state of Hbar, Q2 2022. This is a Mazzari report. So this is 2-Bit Idiot that's on Twitter that's often really critical of XRP. He's recently did a 180 with XRP. So you saw him talking to Garlinghouse, and him and Garlinghouse are buddy, but he's a long time like villain of the XRP community, and he has a report called the Mazzari report. In this report, they talk about the daily activity, and the daily activity for Hedera is spiked, right? It's up to like 50,000 active users.
It's pretty bad. I mean, if you go to the top, so this is Q2, because I know that we were on that token. What's the site called again? Because I definitely want to use that for developer activity. Is it Token Metrics?
Token Terminal.
Yeah, since you can't look up Hedera on here, I tried pulling up some of the stuff that we could find. And I think back in July, in that Q2 one that you just had up there, and there was like 5,000, I think.
66,148. So
that's active users. If you scroll up a little bit with the kind of the key points. Oh yeah. So there was developer activity. I think it was 6,000 events just in July for developer activity, which is pretty crazy. And then if you go to their Q3 report, you can really see like all of the services. So I think it's the next one that you have up. I don't know if you downloaded the next one. We just have the Q2. The Q3.
I didn't realize that they were separate. I got it. So this is a Q3.
Yeah. So I wanted to show some of this stuff to you guys because, you know, some of these sites just don't share stuff about certain networks. But if you start scrolling down through Q3, it takes you into like, you know, smart contracts as a service. It takes you into actual like bar charts that really do show you like kind of the network growth. Keep scrolling. There's a DeFi one. Yeah, NFT activity is like one thing. I know a lot of people don't, you know, a lot of people aren't heavy into NFTs, but if you keep scrolling down through this network services, I will say this Massari report's pretty actual decent, like the one that I'm looking through as far as what they have: account management, crypto service. Yeah, these are cool reports. Like you can really look at like the network activity. The file service is still really kind of new. You're not seeing a ton of traction on it yet, but the smart contract service, September 2022, you can see like 3,800 active users just in September. You can see close to 700,000 transactions. The token service chart, if that's on here, is pretty crazy.
But wait a second. So this says once they launched EVM, so EVM is like Ethereum virtual machine, right? So a lot of cryptos are based off of that. This exploded, and that tells me that people aren't satisfied with the way Ethereum operates, right? Everyone praises Ethereum, but their friction, like we saw in the BIS video, their friction is hindering the network. It's harming the network. So you're seeing everyone migrate to places like Hedera because it's cheaper and easier to use.
Yeah, go back up to the token service. These are just like interesting metrics for me because like we're literally in the middle of a frickin' bear market, right? And if you go up a little bit to that bar chart for the token service, there you go. There's that bar chart right above it. You can look at like November 2021. Or that's NFTs again. Shit.
NFTs, DeFi. Smart contract service.
Smart contracts.
Token service. There you
go. Yeah. So if you look at that chart, active users. So compared to like, okay, August, September, October, November, like the market was still peaking, right? And you actually see kind of the opposite effect where you really do. And this is in part because of, the launch of like the first kind of DEX or decentralized exchange on Hedera, which was Saucer Swap. And there are more coming. There's more, kind of, there's Healy Swap, there's H Suite, there's Lehman Swap, there's, I know some other ones that are kind of down the pike. Really interesting to watch like how many people are actually utilizing kind of these services. In September 2022, 1.6 million average active users weekly is pretty insane. Being the fact that it was literally like under let's say 250,000 back in October of 2021, and then active or transactions, 1.6 million transactions, I apologize, and like 33,000, let's say, active users on a weekly basis, which is, I mean, what is that, like that's like almost 7 times growth during a bear market, which is pretty nuts.
I love how he writes an increase in activity because of the launch of Saucer Swap, like it's a bad thing or something, but the activity has just like climbed, so I'd like to see this like, the next few months, like if this sustains high, it's being used, and it's not just because of Saucer Swap, it's because people have a real use case for it. And by the way, this could be like companies using it. This doesn't have to be just like all retail. It's using it, right? So this is factoring in everything, the testing and everything. So if this remains high, that's indicative of what's being done in the background. So that's why I really like these metrics. So that's why I'm
they're cool. There's this was back in November, but a lot of like so one of the enterprise use cases was 100% testing in like the end of the first week, beginning of the second week in November. And TPS, you can always go and look at like transactions per second. And what I like is that they really like throttle the network right now to an extent where they're not pushing like anywhere close to max capability. But there was like, I think 10 million transactions just from one use case. I might be way low there. Within like a 24-hour period, and that's from Avery Dennison, which is huge, and their Atma.io project, which I think is what was being tested at the enterprise level. And they do like RFID tagging for like billions of products connected to their like product cloud. And that was within like a 30-hour period. You saw like the consensus service and the TPS, like the transactions kind of like throttled at like a really normal level. And they literally like in 30 hours, like exploded upwards from one use case, which is pretty crazy.
So why did they throttle the network? Just so it didn't fail or something? Just so something bad didn't happen? Was there a reason they were throttling it?
It's they don't throttle it. They weren't throttling it for that aspect. Like the explanation I got from Christian when I interviewed him back in 2020 is like, why would we push the network to max TPS whenever the network isn't being used like at max TPS? So they have this. they basically are like, however much demand is for the network, they can always like push the TPS like to whatever, like through. They haven't even like got. I think they're doing like sharding down the road and all sorts of crazy stuff. But like right now, if you look at transactions per second on Hedera,
That's
let me
a
pull it up
buffer.
real quick.
It's a buffer in case, why would you do that if you didn't have to? So it's a nice
Yeah,
buffer.
Hedera mainnet right now. I mean, right now there's like 2 transactions per second essentially that are actually occurring. But obviously it can be scaled to, I forget what I saw initially. It was, I think I want to say like millions back in 2020, what they initially had on there for documentation. But yeah.
Yeah, I also like you can pick out. So like there's a lot of like these low market cap coins, and this is a really good metric for low market cap coins as well, because if there's active developers that are working on a low market cap coin, that tells you a lot more. So there's some coins that are mixed in here that have like $1 million market cap, but there's a lot of activity happening on it. So I really like using this site just for that, just to analyze the markets and figure out what's happening. But if we go down here, let's go to blockchains and try to
Be way more than 2 per second. I'm looking at something wrong.
revenue, earnings, price, TVL, treasury. I'm looking for developers, but I know it's possible. I've done it before. Just can't find it right now. But anyway, it's a really good just different way to active developers. So let me click here and then bring it down here. So active developers, blockchain, and we go by, doesn't have it. I could have sworn that I've done it. Maybe it's over here that I've done it.
Here,
Yeah.
I'll give you, hold on. Yeah, so right now, TPS for Hbar is 10,000 plus, but there's an asterisk right there. Cryptocurrency transactions throttled at 10,000 transactions per second and will increase in the future, sharding to enable unlimited TPS for Hedera. The range is shown for transactions not requiring a transaction record, but can receive a transaction receipt. So 10,000 TPS is what it's throttled to right now. But that's just like what is capable right now, that what it's throttled to. That doesn't mean that you have 10,000 transactions flowing through the network. But the point of that was whenever like Atma.io went live, there was millions upon millions of transactions in a 24-hour period. I wish I had the statistic. I'll try to look if you want to move on.
Yeah, it's just a buffer. I mean, I understand. Live peer centrifuge. So you have all these coins that may have like a really low market cap, and you can use this as a metric for yourself to try to find something that may be asymmetrical, right? So something that has a ton of developers and a market cap that's tiny, but it might be something in the future that you want to look into. So Speakeasy went from beta to alpha testing. So if you want to check out Speakeasy, this is running through a decentralized blockchain right now. So it's going through the XX network and it's real time. So for any of this to work, there needs to be, blockchains that can handle scale. And this is being mixed up through the XX network and happening in real time. So it's pretty interesting to see this happen. I tweeted this out. I'll put the link in the description if you want to test it out and try it out. But
yeah, Darren and I are definitely going to start. I know HTTPS is live. They're going to start having moderation aspects. It was really slick when they even released it back into alpha. I know they pushed a ton of updates like HTTPS. When there's moderation aspects, we 1,000% plan to start doing some really interesting discussions and starting, speakeasies again, like, censorship resistance and kind of that, privacy, integral, like into like the application, like building kind of the infrastructure of like what social aspects should represent, where you're not being levied or leveraged based on your search history and things like that. You really kind of have, you could use it for whatever you wanted to use it. You could start a public or a private one. Once moderation comes, we're definitely going to start doing more initiatives around that. I found the statistic, by the way. So this was November 10th. I put this out. It appears yesterday that Avery Dennison was testing Atma.io on Hedera consensus service. There was around 25 million transactions in 10 hours. So
Uh,
that's pretty ridiculous for one use case. In 10 hours, they had 25 million transactions running over top of Hedera consensus servers. So
wow. Yeah, that's a lot. So uh, with Speakeasy, I forgot to mention this is completely private. There's no surveillance that can happen. So this goes over a network that has over 400 different nodes that take your information, mix it up, and send it over this network of nodes. So there's no way for anyone to know anything about me other than I'm telling you, this is me on this channel. But this is for demonstration purposes only. But if you want something that's completely private and you want to have a group, I'm going to have like a Telegram, but instead it's going to be Speakeasy. So once there's moderation aspects of it and I can get rid of the trolls and stuff like that, I'll make one so everyone can join and contribute research if they want. So this was Hedera Services. This was one of the GitHubs that I found 57 contributors. So if they don't have it on Token Terminal, we can look
the plus 46. What's the plus 46 underneath?
I think it's 57 total, and this is just showing you the avatars of the most frequently,
Yeah, right there. Plus 46 contributors.
Yeah,
I'm just
so
curious what it is.
It's like a social media for developers, and they can contribute code. It's finding all the developers that are working. So this insight thing is probably what Token Terminal is going off of. They're grabbing this and bringing that data into Token Terminal, but that's saying crunching the latest data, just hanging tight.
Yeah, I would love to get the actual number. I could probably ask a couple of people if they have a ballpark. I would guess, if I had to guess what is actually going on, like not just from GitHub, but like looking at some of the enterprise stuff going on that who knows how they're working with it. It's got to be in the hundreds, right? I would imagine it's probably in the hundreds of developers, similar to like what you would see with like XRPL, things like that. But I can't touch on that because I don't know definitively. But GitHub
the problem though is you have all these smaller projects like Saucer Swap, right? It's technically Hedera developers, right? But we're only looking at Hedera's like main services, right? So to find out the developer, we need to look up all the projects, find all their GitHubs, and kind of add it all up. So that's part of the problem. So this next piece is Brad Garlinghouse talked about Wells Fargo and FTX. So it turns out Wells Fargo is committing fraud, using customers' money, doing all this crazy stuff like FTX was doing. And it completely gets overlooked. Meanwhile, I can't turn on the TV without hearing something about Sam Bankman-Fried. So it's interesting, they mismanage billions in customers' funds as well, and it barely slips by the radar. Food for thought, and he's got this meme here. But do you have any thoughts?
I'm curious because I saw that they were ordered to pay like close to $4 billion, which I can't imagine. That sounds like a ton of money to us, but
yeah, I don't know what Wells Fargo. Let's just see.
Trying to look up like
they're ordered to pay $3.7 billion for illegal activities, including unjust foreclosures and vehicle repossessions. So they didn't go through the process. They were repossessing people's loans basically and taking their stuff, and they didn't go through the proper process. So they're doing all this terrible stuff and getting away with it.
To put it into context, so they're ordered to pay $3.7 billion. Wells Fargo's revenue for the 12 months ending September 30th, 2022 was $80.554 billion. So they're ordered to pay $3.7 billion. Their revenue is about $80.554. I don't know how much they have to pay out for overhead and employee expenses and all that crap, but I'm sure there's a lot left over because, I think it was even recently that we saw tons of the top up, and this has been consistently happening, like tons of the top echelon banking organizations, like giving their C-suite executives ridiculous raises and bonuses, you know what I mean? Like millions of dollars in bonuses. So
yeah, I mean, after like the bailouts of 2008, they didn't fire anyone. They gave everyone bonuses with taxpayer money. It's like the same thing. It's a slap on the wrist. They get 3.7 billion, and it's, you know, a fraction of what they make annually. This is true with the SEC too. So I saw a tweet where I was talking about Library was fined 200% of what their token offering was versus EOS that was fined a couple $1 million, which is like 0.0 something percent of what their offering was. So, you know, the punishments are not exactly clear cut, and they can just crush somebody if they choose to do so, or they could take it easy. So, you know, it depends on like how you fit in with the regulator. So going back to like these open secrets, right? It's nuts to me that this is how the system works. You know, you find people like this that are just collecting money, and if something bad happens to one of these companies, they get the deluxe treatment and get out of everything. So pretty nuts. We the peeps
Oh,
will use.
This is that we the peeps. Yeah, we use blockchain to try to break the big money monopoly in politics.
Oh, this is
Just
fun.
interesting some of the ties that you see. So this we the peeps thing is tied into blockchain voting, which is tied into that democracy engine. Just some of the links here. It's an Ethereum based crypto, obviously.
So this is Brad Sherman. He's collecting money somehow through this We the Peeps that is pro blockchain, and he's on, you know, he's grilling the FTX CEO about blockchain and trying to make him look foolish. But meanwhile, he's collecting money from it, and this is one of the companies that is doing it, right?
Yeah, it's just not even understanding what you're talking about and what ties exist within some of your biggest contributors. Like, I'm not going to say he's necessarily 100% taking money from this We the Peeps that has been around since 2019, but I can say that democracy engine is in here. If you do a Control F, I think it was democracy engine. Yeah. So when the voting is over, a third-party payment processor called Democracy Engine will distribute the money to the winning candidates. Co-founders eventually help. You know, there was I did a video on this, which is pretty crazy as well, though. But yeah, I mean, it's like you don't even know what your biggest contributors are tied up in with, let alone like what is potentially going on in the space as a whole right now. So I mean, for him not to kind of do the due diligence to be like, hey, my biggest contributor might have ties to crypto is ridiculous. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, just taking an anti-crypto stance, right, without having an open mind is ridiculous to me.
Well, when you saw like Kaiser Permanente and Fidelity and Blackstone and all of his other contributors, like that are either A, dealing in crypto, or B, potentially doing nefarious things as well. Like even the Binance thing you brought up earlier, as far as like the drug trafficking ring or whatever, you know, we know very much so that like the majority of bad actions that go on with money across the world are happening with the United States dollar. Like still, I mean, it's not even comparable.
Yeah, right. I mean, like cash is the real vehicle, right? And nobody cares about cash. Which, you know, if you were to redo cash, which CBDCs, right, that's what they're attempting to do. They would never have like the privacy cash has, but you know, the economic activity that happens with cash is, you know, flourishes all the time because it's anonymous and private. But so this last piece comes from Jeffrey Snyder, which, you know, does the Eurodollar University, and showing housing prices you know, so they peaked in October 2020, and now they're back down to C19 lows. So I just want to touch on just total three. So this is total three, right? We broke down past this previous all-time high. So in my opinion, where we might find an area to settle on might be this next peak, which also has some support here too. So I don't know if you want to say, do you have a different opinion as mine?
Is this the total? So this is the total market cap of everything excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum, right?
Right. Yeah. So this is all.
Did we break down past all-time high within alts? I don't think we have.
So this
Oh yeah, we did. On this chart we did. If you pull up the
right here we just broke through that, so we're going below, but that might be a wick. I mean, it's possible that we still stop here. So no, we broke through these candles. So this is on the weekly. Let's try on the scale it out a little bit more, just to have a clear
I have I think I had pulled up like the total market cap of crypto
actually Right here,
Which,
you have two body candles, and then you have a wick here. So I think this would be a good area of support. Let me try it out on like 3 months. So this is how I've been looking for myself, is with this 3 month chart. And if you look at like Bitcoin and other places, there's a lot of candles. So I think this is a decent area of support. And if you look here, here's an EMA that's coming. So 20 EMA kind of brings you down at this 200 something, $235 billion market cap. But if we look at Bitcoin all-time history, Bitcoin all-time history index, and I go all the way to the 3 month chart. So this is what I have for this. So this is the first time we've closed under the 20 EMA if we log all the way out to the 3 month chart, which it hasn't happened. You've always caught and bounced, right? So this is the first time we closed underneath it. So to me, the next area of support is these two body candles. This wick, almost this wick, is the first area of support, which is 14K. And then the next area I have down here is 10K. So
yep.
I would not be surprised to see total 1, 2, 3 kind of follow the same thing. And right now you're sitting at support of the previous wick, but I'm not sure if that's going to hold with everything that's happening right now. What I would like to see is the Fed start printing money again. So, but prior to that happening, there needs to be an impetus for the Fed to actually start printing money. So to me, that's a market sell-off, and it's going to, you better do what we say or else we're going down, and the Fed prints money. So that's what happened in 2018. I'm not sure if anyone is aware of this, but in 2018, there is a corporate credit freeze, and the Fed was raising interest rates, and then they went back to printing money. So right back here. So this was right at Christmas too. This happened. This drop. What happened was people were issuing bonds, businesses were issuing bonds, and nobody was buying. So the whole market was frozen. Today, the same exact thing is happening. Bonds like Tenneco, Brightspeed, Twitter, they issue bonds and nobody's buying them. The banks are buying and putting on their balance sheet, but that's irrelevant. The bond market is completely illiquid right now. The same exact setup. So what I showed you with the gilt market, those are bonds selling off. If we look at TLT is more bonds. They're completely selling off. So what needs to happen is the Fed needs to come in and just start buying all the bonds, right? And that's what will happen when things get bad enough. But things are still okay, I guess. But look at how bonds have just sold off. These are supposed to be very, very less risky type of investment, and it just completely dumped, similar to the other thing, GLT. So GILT, which is UK's bonds. So this is down 50%. These are supposed to be a safe haven. Usually during a recession, everybody piles into bonds because it's guaranteed a certain amount percentage when you buy the bonds, but this dumped 50%. So the traditional investing type of thing where 50, 40, 30 portfolio, 60, 40 portfolio of bonds and stocks does not work, because this proved that it didn't work. And it's a bad sign.
No, I agree. I mean, if you look at the total market cap of crypto, I think you nailed it. Like even at the 3 month, like we are certainly holding support right now, but how strong is that support and where will we go to next? I mean, if the total market cap of crypto breaks like 770 billion to the downside on a monthly candle, we are definitely probably going to go lower. And I mean, everybody's been talking about that 11K to like 13.7 range for Bitcoin as well. But I mean, regardless, I mean, I think there is going to be kind of one leg down. But if you really zoom out and kind of look at this space 2 or 3 years down the line, whether you buy crypto, and I'm not telling you to buy crypto, but whether you buy crypto at a 760 billion market cap or buy crypto at a $530 billion market cap, when the market cap is between 8 and 12 trillion bucks potentially, it'll be interesting to watch, because I don't think anybody's going to argue over, man, did I really buy capitulation? Did I dollar cost average in as we were going lower? That's, a little bit of a different animal, because I think, we could certainly still go lower, but if you look and zoom out to where we could be at, and, I would say by 2025 timeframe, this is going to be looked at as almost nothing. So where does that take you on the monthly? Like 500 billion, a little bit over. Yeah.
Yeah, so this yellow line's 500 billion, but there's also I think a 200 EMA or 100 EMA that also lines up with that. So on the monthly, a strong area of support would be like 500 billion, which, you know, I said the bearish case, but for this to start being bullish, right? What we need to see is Bitcoin get above some of these EMAs and just go sideways. So if you see Bitcoin get back up to $1 trillion market cap and go sideways, or total, so Bitcoin included, all of crypto gets above $1 trillion and stays sideways, that's potentially a reversal there. So, you know, we don't know exactly where the bottom. I'm just kind of giving you my thought process on it, but I don't know for certainty. You know, you never know what's going to happen. Nobody knows, and that's we're just trying to figure that out. You know, since we closed during these EMAs, they're now resistance, and you could see these candles are now resistance. So where do we land? And in my opinion, it's the yellow, but it's completely possible that we blow through it and you know, stay sideways. But you know, something like that would make sense to me. But we'll take it as it comes and see what happens. I mean, just the traditional setup, though, this is really ugly. This ends when the Fed starts printing money. It's that simple, in my opinion. They're just going to print money. They're going to stabilize this, and they really don't have any choices either. So once the market signals to them to do it, they're going to do it. You're going to see a bounce like this. We go sideways, and then crypto bottoms, wherever that may be. I mean, it could be support or it might not be. Maybe they do it prior to then. But if things continue fundamentally, what's happening, the next area of support is this yellow line. But things can suddenly change if the Fed starts printing money, or central banks start printing money. And the Bank of England's done it. Bank of Japan's done it now. That trend's probably going to continue. Let's see. I did FX swaps. All right. I think that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this. You have anything you want to add?
No, and this will be going out, you know, over the next couple of days. So for those of you that celebrate Christmas, Merry Christmas. For those of you guys that are just celebrating the holiday, I want to wish you guys all a happy holidays. Looking forward to hopefully a great 2023. And then, yeah, Merry Christmas to you and your family too, Darren. It's good to be getting back into these shows. I know we've done this so many times where we're like, we're going to start doing these every week. It's like, I know how busy Darren is. I know how busy I generally am. I really do like doing these. So I hope that we can try to streamline them a little bit more for everybody and moving into 2023. So.
Yeah, I mean, I found a lot of this stuff really interesting. I hope we get to do them. It's educational for me too, and the dialogue back and forth is appreciated. Merry Christmas to everyone that celebrates Christmas, or happy holidays to whatever else you may celebrate. So we'll have a good one. I hope you guys enjoyed the show.
See you guys.